everybody. I'm Gemma, aka Chronically True, from Tempus The Spoon. We're here today talking this out of our usual schedule because Zoe is in Australia. It's a bit early, it's a bit late there. I just let you know a little bit about Tempus The Spoon. So I started on Instagram as Chronically True a couple months ago. Just to find my tribe, Spoonies, my mental health warriors. And when I did, I found there wasn't a place to collaborate with other Spoonies in a positive way. So I started the page, and it's gone a little bit mad. And now we're doing, we do live chats every Friday and Wednesday at 6 BST with other chronically ill people, or people with mental health, or people with interesting perspectives for Spoonies and people that are mental health conditions, and that's why we're talking to Zoe. Hi, Zoe.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. I'm honoured, that you asked me, so thank you.
You're very welcome. So, Zoe, you have ME. Is that the kind of
I
like
do,
we
yes.
talked a second ago, and that's kind of the kind of like the bigger term that for your
Yeah.
You want to tell
So I was diagnosed back in 2007 when I was about 10. So it was known as chronic fatigue syndrome back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten it from a virus called glandular fever.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't know that was possible.
So I had that for like 6 months, and it was kind of passed around from doctor to doctor. You know, she's just got the flu, giving me the nasal sprays, antibiotics, that kind of thing. Nothing was clearing. And of course, it wasn't common in kids either. So who knows how I even got it, but we won't go into that. And yeah, eventually I just ended up crashing so hard that I couldn't even walk really. So that's where the chronic fatigue came along.
Mm-hmm.
And for a couple of years, I was dependent completely on my mum. She was feeding, washing, dressing me. I couldn't move at all. And I slowly built it up again. So the way chronic fatigue works, maybe I'll start by explaining it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The symptoms are so it's something called post-exertional malaise. So that is kind of this delayed onset of fatigue after normal activities. So it could be even just brushing my teeth or jumping in the shower. So I would have to rest after that usually. But like I said, it kind of varies with over the years. So I've gone from completely like bedbound to wheelchair bound, and then to full-time study as well. So I did my psychology degree.
Well,
so it's kind of really fluctuated over the years. And yeah, so at the moment I had so in 2018 I completed my honours in psychology, and I kind of burnt myself out with that. I mean, I'm proud of it, but I think I wasn't, I stopped counting the spoons. I stopped taking time for me. I just kind of went go again. I was like, I thought I was well. And then so I relapsed last year, unfortunately. So it was kind of a whole process of learning again to take care of myself, and having all the symptoms back. So I struggle with migraines, stomach issues. I feel like I've got the flu if I overdo it. So I get sore throat, muscle weakness, so my arms and legs feel quite like lead, if that makes sense.
I don't know because I've got chronic fatigue, but I'm a spoonie, so I get limited energy. And if, like I said, we were saying before, if I go too far on a walk, when I come back, I feel like I'm walking through soup.
Yes,
kind of
that's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah.
You would definitely understand the kind of experience I go through as well. I think it's a common theme, but mine is more completely fatigue. So a new symptom I got in summer was some of those POTS type symptoms. So that was quite interesting. I haven't experienced that one before. So kind of the way I dealt with that one was wearing like compression tights, making sure I'm drinking lots of water, and not standing up for too long. Otherwise I get quite dizzy. In terms of the migraine, that one is a quite hard one to manage, because Panadol and painkillers don't quite work, because it's a different root cause. I guess it's fatigue rather than, I don't know, like dehydration or something. So yeah, with that, that's why I created the products that I make with the weighted eye masks. So that one was more to get some relief because I couldn't get it anywhere else besides
It was
resting.
specifically for the migraines.
Specifically for migraines and for sleep. So with chronic fatigue, I also get like an insomnia type feeling, which is so ridiculous because I feel fatigued all the time. So you think I'd want to sleep. However, when I go to sleep at night, then I get this wired feeling. So I don't feel like sleeping. It's frustrating.
That's horrible, because at least if you, obviously as a spoonie that gets fatigue, you can sleep. I can sleep 8-12 hours and still wake up feeling tired, but at least you've had the sleep. So at least you've had a break from feeling unwell when you're not feeling good. But if you don't really get a break from it.
Yes. So I do have that unrefreshed sleep as well. It's definitely gotten better as I'm getting better as well and using tools to help. But yeah, that wired feeling is really hard to describe. It's kind of like your whole body wants to sleep, but then your mind's awake. It's strange. I feel like from the doctors I've seen, the research I've done, it probably comes from like the stress response, which the chronic fatigue often originates from. So it's sometimes hard to distinguish between something like anxiety and fatigue, because it's the same kind of overwhelmed feeling, I guess. So with the burnout side of the fatigue.
Okay, you get I went through burnout, but I ran a company for 5 years, a social enterprise for homeless people and people living in poverty. But again, I wasn't looking after myself, and I burnt out emotionally and physically and everything. I was just broken. Yes. But burnout is part of chronic fatigue.
Yeah, burnout. Look, it's probably
like that regularly,
but that's how I like to describe it, because it feels that way. So when I say overdo it too much, if I've walked too much, or even if I've been on the laptop too long, it's chronic fatigue. There's like different types of fatigue, and you can manage the different types in different ways. So there's like the social side. So obviously if you're meeting with someone, that can be quite draining because you're using a lot of facial expressions and expressive language to talk, and that takes energy. So even sitting upright takes energy. Whereas the physical side, obviously that is also that muscle weakness feeling. Then you've got the cognitive side, which is also you have to strengthen, and that's the whole things that I like to say. It looks like I'm drunk, even though I've drunk nothing. So like the slurry words, I'm probably doing a little bit because it's quite late here. Slurry words,
I can't tell.
That kind of thing. So chronic fatigue syndrome really affects every part of your body, which is strange to kind of explain. It would take probably an hour or so to explain it. But
everybody I speak to that has different diagnoses, I think that most I've heard of chronic fatigue syndrome, but I've never knew it was so complex. I thought it was just like that I said that I don't have lots of energy. I thought it was just that you kind of, that when you go for a walk and you get too far and you do kind of, I get dizzy and I feel like I'm walking through soup, but it's not as quite as severe as that you're talking about. It's kind of, if you overdo it then you go and rest for a little bit, but you can rest from it a little bit where you don't get any sort of peace from it.
Exactly. So at the moment, if I were to overdo it, I could rest for maybe a couple of hours and I would recover a little. So I've gotten to that stage in my illness journey where I am recovering, which is really quite encouraging, especially from last year where I would thought, since I got it like a second time round in a way, I thought I would never come out of it. Like I was in a wheelchair again last year.
It's amazing that you can recover from it. And do you know how you do that? How you have done that?
So it's more like you take things from different things. So you look at it more holistically. So what the main things that I was doing is you get your relaxation side of things. So to calm the nervous system. So you do the yoga meditation, that side. Then you do the nutrition. So you have to make sure you're really eating a well-balanced diet, lots of whole foods, limit sugar and caffeine, at least in my personal experience. Those foods definitely make me crash harder because I guess caffeine is quite is a stimulant, so it's essentially a fake energy for me.
Sure.
But if I got the fake energy, I would go and do more things, but then it's harder because it's not my actual energy. Same with the sugar. So I tend to limit those, but obviously everyone's different. And then the physical therapy side is more, systematically increasing your activity.
Right.
So that could be, so I did it with the walking originally. I started at 10 minutes a day. That's all I did. It was basically to up the street and back, or even to the letterbox. I started with the letterbox and back. You slowly build that up. And then you also have to start building up the other sides of your strengths, so the cognitive, or I like to do a lot of creativity stuff, so embroidery and the sculpturing and things like that. Had to build that up.
So that you have
a lot
to
on
do
the
a small
muscles.
amount at a time and then build it up so that you can do it for longer.
So that's kind of how treatment worked for me. People like to call it graded exercise therapy. I heard that's a bit controversial in the chronic fatigue world, as I think it originated from England in a trial, and a lot of the subjects had gotten worse fatigue after the trial. So I think, from my understanding, it's the way you go about it, and you have to make sure you're doing it really carefully, because you can overdo it quite easily. So I physio to help me guide me through that.
Okay, it'd be interesting to see how it works in the UK. But I'm guessing if it makes you worse, then you stop and you go backwards and you try again a little bit.
Learn from it. Yeah, it's all about learning the boundaries and when to push and when it's okay to push the boundaries. Obviously, if you're not pushing boundaries, you're not really going to get anywhere moving forward. You're just going to stay the same. But you don't want to push them too far, because then you can go backwards. So
absolutely,
it's a lot of thinking.
So ME is chronic fatigue syndrome, is that right?
It is, yeah. I believe they're the same. Just ME is a newer term.
I've heard of both of them, but I didn't know that they were the same thing. So how now you're kind of you're recovering? How does that affect you on a daily basis?
Yeah, so with daily basis, I like to balance my rest and activity a lot more now. So they're kind of almost equal, which is good. Before, I was doing more rest than activity. But at the moment, I would look into what kind of activity I'm doing. So say I would start with my walk in the morning. Then I would probably do some cognitive work on the computer, or maybe some embroidery, because that's quite concentrating. But they're different fatigue, so you're targeting different things. So I'd be resting,
physical break while you're
and then maybe to take a break from the screens, or my cognitive side, I'll do some yoga next. So it's kind of that balance of rest / activity.
You've got to be kind of quite planned and quite about how you're going to tackle it. You basically are fighting it, really, aren't you? Rather than surviving it, you're kind of finding a way of building up your strength again, like they were muscles.
Exactly. Actually, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, it is like a muscle. You're strengthening different parts of your body, so your brain and your muscles. Yeah, that's great. I never thought of it that way.
There you go with a new perspective. So
I have to do that one.
how did you do your? You said that you did you did your psychology degree.
Yes.
How did you go to university with a chronic
I don't know how I managed it, to be honest. I did it. So when I came out of high school, I was practically recovered in my eyes. So I felt like the fatigue didn't really touch me much. I still wouldn't go out at night too much. Like, I wouldn't go out late. I'd still make sure I get enough sleep.
So much.
Yeah, so we'd still measure in some ways my activity, but then honours year came along, which was 4 years into the fourth year in my degree, and that was madness. So it's completely competitive psychology degree in Australia, or I don't know what it looks like in England, but in Australia it's 100% competitive. You need like things on your resume, you need good scores. So I was doing full-time study, volunteering to build my resume. So I was doing quite a lot, and I think that wasn't the healthiest looking back on it. because I wasn't taking time, for the self-care practices or the yoga, the meditation, those kind of things.
Yeah.
That's probably what led to my burnout. But I did manage it, and I felt I managed it really well even within that year. But it had this like really delayed effect. So 2019 February was when I had relapsed, but I finished my degree in November in 2018. So it had a really delayed onset.
Good in a way that it allowed you to finish your degree and then went kind of, you got a bit of a break now. That's it now. Now you need to recover. So at least it gave you that rather than burning you out at the time that you weren't able to finish your degree, because that's a huge achievement to be able to get a degree with someone that's got a chronic illness.
Definitely. I'm really happy I was able to do it, and I hope to go back and do my master's one day, but we'll see how it goes.
In psychology as well?
Probably, yeah. I'm thinking maybe clinical psychology, because that kind of encapsulates a wider range of things. So things like, the common disorders like anxiety, depression, but then you can also look into schizophrenia, eating disorders, even childhood development disorders. So,
so it's a broad range of different areas that you can go into. That's cool. Yeah. I never. I started with a psychology degree, but I was too young and too stupid and never actually finished it.
Maybe you can go back one day if that's what you're interested in, but we'll see.
I think I think I've blown the budget of university. I think, and I'm too old now. But I did enjoy psychology. It was really good. So, are you working or volunteering doing with the child that you mentioned before?
Yes, so I'm working. So I'm doing behavioural therapy for how many hours am I at this now? About 7 hours a week, so over 2 days. And it's been really nice to get back into that because it feels like you're giving back a bit more. I do a little bit of volunteering occasionally on a helpline as well, but not frequent because it does take a bit of mental effort because dealing with sensitive topics and things like that.
What kind of helpline is it?
So it's specific to eating disorders. So it's looking at either offering support for callers or helping them navigate the treatment system for eating disorders. So there's quite a little bit of gaps. Pardon?
That's going to take a lot to deal with calls like that.
Exactly, yeah. And people, it's a helpline, of course, so they open up about lots of their problems and things. So it can be quite draining, but it feels nice to be able to help them through their journey.
So the positive side of being chronically ill and your ME is that you developed your own products to help with your symptoms as you couldn't find anything else. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your business?
Yeah, so I originally started Freshly Fatigued just to connect with others and share my journey. But along the way, I was thinking about the gaps in my treatment and my journey. And I was missing something to help with sleep and relaxation. So something that combined the two. So I was looking into deep pressure therapy, which often comes in those weighted blankets that you see all over Instagram and things.
I've never actually got one, but
I haven't got one either. But they look really great. They use deep pressure therapy, which sends you have acupressure points all over your body, and by putting like a weight on your body, it sends a message to your nervous system to ground and you're safe, you're calm.
I have a dog that does the same kind of thing and he's free.
It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. I really want to train a dog to do that. That'd be amazing.
He doesn't do it because I want him to do it. He just wakes me up like that, or he's not under any sort of training to do it. He just is not getting enough attention. I'm watching telly. He will just lie on me.
That's gorgeous. Oh my goodness.
Sorry?
With these products, I've kind of taken that principle but made it a bit more affordable and also got that sleep side in as well. So this is a new one that is coming out this week, but it's little coffee cups.
Oh, how cool.
Very nice. I'm excited about this one because I do it can either be tea or coffee, I guess. Leave it up to the...
Tea, I'm English.
But I prefer tea, exactly. I'll stick with tea for the the purpose of this podcast then. But yeah, like with the sleep masks, the idea is to block out the light. So when you block out light, it produces the melatonin in the brain. So that is the hormone that tells you it's time to sleep. So it makes you sleepy. And often in chronic fatigue, that hormone is dysregulated. So I don't produce enough melatonin to make me fall asleep.
That's why your brain can't slow down enough to allow you to.
Exactly right, yes. And I noticed with eye masks that when you fall asleep, you still get the light coming through that nose part because they're not
contoured. I've got one. I've got a black one, and it goes right over your nose. You're right, it doesn't block it out at all.
Yeah. Like it goes over, but yeah, there's still those gaps. So for me, it was really important to have an environment that was completely dark. So that's kind of where the weight came in. But then upon doing more research, because with the weight, it contours to your face because of all the bean. I use flax seeds in mine to make it a bit more environmental friendly and a bit lighter as well. But yeah, so the idea with the weight as well that I did research was it provides that deep pressure therapy as well. So you kind of get the sleep help, but you also get the mental health side as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. You make these yourself?
Yes. So I've dabbled a lot in. I started with as a kid, I was housebound, like bedbound. I wouldn't say bedbound. I would say couchbound because bed. There's that whole psychology that if you spend all the time in your bed, then you don't associate it with sleep anymore, then you can disrupt your sleep too. So I often went to the couch instead, and mum would help me get there. But as I started getting better, I wanted to do something while I was sitting and watching TV or something a bit more productive. So I started with knitting, and then those little kid embroidery kits where you make little teddy bears and things. So I've kind of built these skills up over the years.
I'm not very creative at all, so Zoom is about as creative as
my mum's encouraged it, which I thank her so much now because it's become a really nice skill for me. But yeah, so even in those 4 years where I had felt the chronic fatigue didn't really affect me, I also did a part-time job as a roller skating waitress, which people get mind blown when I say it.
I got chronic illness. I did a bit of embroidery and knitting, and then I was a roller skating waitress. What?
This is chronic fatigue syndrome. It really has. It's a spectrum. It's how I got to the roller skating was I built up my physical stamina so well that I was able to do that, which it's mind blowing to me now.
That's a good job. Why would you choose that? Why would you choose that job? That you just want to do something that was very different, or?
Well, that's where the vintage style comes in because it was a 50s diner style. So I really like the 50s aesthetic, and I stress aesthetic only because the era was so terrible for women. So I don't like what the era encapsulates, but it looks pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, and I wish if I had more energy to dress like that all the time, I would. But who has that time?
And on your Instagram, of you also do the just kind of the normal masks for kind of obviously COVID.
Yeah, so I recently added those more for my own selfishness because I didn't want to go out in public without a mask, and I couldn't really get a hold of the PPE, or not the PPE. Yeah, just those like normal medical masks, and I felt it wasn't very nice to take them away from the medical system as well. I was like, look, if I can use my sewing skills to use for the better in that way, then why not?
You have somebody with the retro hairstyle as well.
Yes, that would probably be me. Yes, that would be me.
Woo!
Yeah.
I'm partially sighted, so I'm always good at recognising people. But you had the cool kind of like curls in your fringe and back up, and then up. So cool.
Thank you.
And they with animals on as well. They're really cool.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun to do something a bit more than just black or plain colours. I mean, black and grey would be good because they go with a lot of things, but patterns are a lot more my thing.
No, No, I thought they were really cool. I thought your hair was that the video was really good because also the masks that I get because my sister's boyfriend works at in a foundry, so they have masks there for safety. So he bought some of those rather than buying kind of the medical ones. But they have big old elastic bands that go around your head and pull on your ears. And when I watched the video of those, I was like, just tied it. They just tied it. It looks so comfy.
Yes, I'm much more a comfort person than an aesthetic, because I know sometimes maybe the ties wouldn't look the best, but they're a lot more comfortable.
Beautiful. You got little bows at the top and at the neck, and also that they would like kind of drag on you so much.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, I much prefer those ones. I've recently popped some elastic options as well in case people wanted more of the hair ties. So I've just actually been using hair ties, which have been quite easy. So that's kind of.
And then I saw that you've been testing back bombs as well.
Yes, I'm really excited about those. So again, that came from being a bit selfish as well, because I had recently gotten into baths and it really helps with my muscle weakness. Like it's just easier than standing in the shower, and then also salts as well help.
I go through bombs like going out of fashion. I would have a bath every night because I'm the same. My condition means that I get muscle weakness, and I also get muscle pains and dry skin. So and brain fog and dizziness and all the lovely things that generally come along with chronic illness.
Yes, right.
So when you're not feeling very good, standing up in the shower is pretty hard work. Although again, sounds ridiculous, but it is. And washing your hair and lifting your arms and everything.
Don't even start me on the hair washing. I've got curly hair and it's just a nightmare.
So sitting down in a nice volcanic hot bath that smells delicious, that's lovely, and then all I've got to do is rinse my hair out afterwards. That's a dream to me. And then sleep for an hour afterwards while the hair goes mad.
Yes, up everywhere.
I always kind of I'm the same with my sister at the moment because I've been here while we've been on COVID lockdown, and every time I go in the bath and I fall asleep with my hair, which is deadly straight usually, and then I go into the living room and it's kind of like, so do you fall asleep after the bath again? Yeah.
Give the body what it wants.
Yeah, it's one way to get kills in very straight hair, that's for sure. I'm a fan of bath bombs. What have you perfect? I can't speak. There you go. There's a bit of brain fog for you. Have you picked ingredients that are specific to your symptoms, or just because you like them, or?
So I had a couple of different ideas with them, and I'm going to be releasing 2 by the end of the week. So doing the coffee ones because it matches this little mask, which will be quite nice. And coffee is really good for inflammation and kind of smoothing out the skin and all the pigment and things like that. It kind of helps with all that. Lost my words a bit tonight, but we'll move on. But the main one that I'm really excited for is obviously the lavender one. I mixed it with oats, because oats are really good for softening the skin.
Wow, really?
It helps with that dryness.
Yeah.
So then you get the lavender as well, which is really good for relaxation. Yeah. So I'm excited.
Have you been taking lots of bath testing them out then?
I have, so I've had lots of fun. It's been really good, yeah. So I've done lots of tests to make sure that, obviously they're up to scratch and ready to go. Had a lot of fail moments, but I guess that's part of learning.
Well, that's absolutely, and that's why I wanted to get you come and have a chat with me, because like I was saying before we started recording, that I find it amazing that people go from a chronic illness and then create something which can be so negative when you feel ill quite a lot, and create something so positive. And you keep on saying selfishly, I created this because I wanted it. But isn't that amazing that somebody who's chronically ill can then look at something that isn't provided to people like them? Because although you're providing, you're creating products for yourself, the symptoms are kind of go across the board for lots of other people. So there'll be lots of other people going, a weighted mask, Now that is right up my street. Or the bath bombs, or the kind of the medical masks. So for me, it's such a positive message that somebody can be so ill, and obviously you've gone through kind of a roller coaster of it being very, very ill, sofa bound, and then kind of and then building it back up. So then now at a point where you are volunteering, working, and have created your own business and are still chronically ill. So that to me is kind of like, how can you do that? That's amazing.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a difficult journey, and I still have those days where I'm like, oh, this is not fair. Like, why do I have to count my spoons? Like, it can be quite discouraging sometimes, but you're right. When you look at what I can still do within my health limits and what I've created, I think, yeah, I can be really proud of that. And
absolutely,
yeah, that provides hope for others. You know, you can, if you really want to do something, you can do it. Sometimes you might just have to take a different path and do it your own way. But it is definitely possible. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first started on Instagram a couple of months ago when I was very ill, and it'd only been a few months since I closed my business and I burnt out and I got very ill, and I kind of went from forever working in high pressure jobs, which I'd never be able to, I won't be able to do again, like working in IT sales and running my own business. And all of a sudden I'm 42 with no career, with no idea of what I'm going to do with my life, and staying in my sister's spare bedroom because I'm too ill to go home. And all of a sudden I joined Instagram and started seeing people like yourself and like the Dotty Room, who's they're creatives, and then use the kind of their skills and their knowledge of what other people want, actually the stickers and positive postcards and lots of different people creating their own businesses. And all of a sudden I thought, I'm not creative at all. I can't make anything. But in those kind of really shitty times, they gave me a bit of hope that if other people that are chronically ill can create a life for themselves, then there's hope for me too. Like I say, I can't make anything. I can't sew. I can't like the
skills. You've got technical skills that I don't have. Like, you know, this podcast. Like, it's incredible what you've done. I love it.
It's definitely a start. I was used to in sales, doing a lot of online presentations of kind of IT products, and also I'm generally interested in people, and that's why I was a good salesperson, because I can chat to people until the cows come home. That's a very English saying, I'm sorry. And so that's when that's what started it, that there wasn't any kind of conversations being had that I wanted to watch, really, which is now, I might well be wrong, because I don't know the whole of Instagram, but from what I saw,
what you've seen, yes.
Yeah, from what I've seen, there wasn't I wanted to see positive people talking about how they, you know, I want to speak to everybody. I want to hear everybody's voices, but specifically, I want to know how people are dealing with chronic illness on a daily basis, and how they're looking to the future, because we can't all. Well, you know, there are different levels of chronic illness. Some people are terribly chronically ill, and they're never going to, unfortunately, they won't get better. Some people have different peaks and troughs. Most people have different peaks and troughs, and they have flares, and flare days are bad, but other days, you know, people are very capable, and that's why I wanted to speak to people like you, and that's why I wanted to do this, so I could get more positivity into my life and know that there was another way out than going back into the world and getting a full-time job and burning out again.
I don't think I will ever go back to full-time job, but I'm okay with that, as long as I can do what I love, you know.
Yeah. So tell us about your Instagram page, what you got going on there at the moment.
Yeah,
you've got your blog as well, or the website.
Yes, I do. Yes. So the blog side of things is a bit under maintenance at the moment, so I'm just in the middle of slowly, updating the look and things like that. So it's got a bit of a makeover page at the moment, so if you go onto it, you won't be able to see the blog, but it will be up and running soon, hopefully. But yeah, the idea with the blog side of things was, it originally started with me just sharing all about my chronic fatigue journey and what I'm doing to manage my symptoms, and what I've learnt along the way, like what hasn't worked, what has worked, that kind of thing. I've tried a bunch of different things over the years and a lot hasn't stuck. So the things that I had mentioned earlier are the things that I'm working, keeping in my like toolbox, I guess, or management. So it originally started with that, but this year I wanted to branch it more out into the holistic living, because I have incorporated things like, Ayurveda, yoga. So Ayurveda is more Indian medicine based. It's alternative medicine. And I much prefer alternative side of things. Look, they don't always work all the time, like everything from Ayurveda stuck with me, but I've taken bits and pieces from things. A lot of Western medicine has let me down over the years, so if I can find relief in other things, then
Absolutely.
I'm going to give it.
I've never heard of that. So what kind of, is it kind of complementary therapies, or is it herbs, or is it a mix? Or?
It's not for everyone. It's more looking at your, it's like your constitution, so your makeup. So it uses the elements of the earth, so like water, fire, air, and something called ether, like your soul. So it's a bit like hippie, I guess.
I'm all in hippie. I've never been, and then when I got ill, I'm like, give me everything that's a little bit hippy dippy. Anything that's complementary therapies, I want it all. And then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You got nothing to lose.
I've taken bits and pieces from it. Mainly, it uses what level of makeup you are. So it has like doshas, which I won't go into them because I'll butcher them, but maybe you can look it up later. But basically, like, you take your dosha and then you go with a diet that matches it. So you, it's all about finding foods that, for my dosha at least, that cool.
I understand this now. But, yes, I have heard about this. What they do it with teas. So they diagnose you certain teas. And I was sent some. I have heard of this. I didn't know it was called that, but the dosha bit rang a bell, because they diagnose you a certain thing, and then what teas would be best for you. And I got sent a box of teas ages ago. And they were amazing. But then you know how you move on to something else. But I'd love to see that. You share that blog post with us when you get,
I will, when it gets back up and going, because I did like a what is Ayurveda thing, so it helps with people understanding. But basically, in terms of Ayurveda, what I've taken from it now, because I found the meal prep side of things was a bit tricky. So, and I also have some intolerances, so some of the foods couldn't work with what I can eat anyway. So I've kind of taken more the relaxation and routine side of the Ayurveda, because they really strongly believe in morning routines. And last year that really helped me get a kickstart with my recovery again, because it kind of made you wake up and look forward to the day rather than dreading it because you're so symptomatic and things. So they start with the morning routine. So you have your lemon water with honey and turmeric, so that helps with inflammation, and then you go into your journaling to help with the mental health side, and then you do your yoga to get the blood flowing and get a bit more energy to your brain, and then you have a little rest. At least in my case, but other people would do like exercise like power walking or running, but I'm not at that stage. So I've kind of fitted into my chronic illness morning routine.
That sounds amazing. I'd love to read the blog when you.
I'll send it your way once it's back up.
And then I'll share it as well, because that sounds really good. That sounds really interesting.
Thank you.
On Tempus. Cool. So you've got a plan for the future. You're developing more products, and then you're developing your blog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I hope. Yeah, the blog is meant to complement the products, so you kind of learn a bit more about where I come from in terms of my journey and my chronic illness journey and what I'm doing daily to help that. Because a lot of the stuff I do can broaden out not just the chronic illness community, like even to the general public, because it's more about health in general. Yeah, so that's kind of the idea, and keep growing that and hopefully get some collaborations.
Absolutely. Well, I think It's definitely, I think people will find you interesting, your whole story interesting. But I forgot to ask as well. We did mention it that the weighted mask. It's I remember you saying it was aromatherapy. So there you've got.
Oh yeah, I did forget to mention that. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
So I've got lavender oil in it. You can admit it, like I have said. If people don't like lavender, they can just tell me not to put it in because they're made from scratch, like made to order. So
Yeah.
it's not like already made. But I chose lavender just because it is known for helping headaches and also relaxation and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So to have that like right on your nose area, you can smell it straight away.
Yeah.
So it's kind of incorporates that. I really love my diffuser. But I know not everyone has the luxury of having one. So kind of incorporating a little bit of aromatherapy into the mask.
I think everybody that I've spoken to is really interested in essential oils and aromatherapy as a kind of a symptom. And most people I've spoken to either have a diffuser or desperately want one of those non-ones, the kind of the quite expensive ones. But essential oils is something I've definitely got into, and and smells help a lot with. And lavender is definitely a lovely one, isn't it? Especially against your nose and comforting.
Exactly. And I think with the chronic fatigue, I have sensitivities to smells and light and sounds. Okay. So to find something that doesn't aggravate and make me feel sicker is something I was looking for as well. So the lavender for me at least is quite subtle. Like I've made sure I haven't put too much in that it's overwhelming. So I have to think more about that side as well, because I am like, there's been times where my family has lit candles of like strong vanilla smell, and I wanted to like vomit how sensitive I was to it.
So people got to be aware that what they're doing around you with regards to candles, essential oils, to make it worse. I'd be terrible then, because I'm like potions and perfumes and candles.
Yes.
And I've got a big thing about smells at the moment. But they help me feel grounded and calmed, but they're probably a little bit overpowering.
As long as it helps you, though.
And otherwise, I would just smell a dog, as he's always around me. So nice to smell of perfume and bath stuff rather than just smelling of the dog.
Completely agree. Yes, I think that's a nicer smell.
It happens, unfortunately, when your dog just hangs around you all the time. So your future. So your blog, coming that you're redesigning. You're working, and you're planning on, you saying before, you're going for your masters.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to push that too quickly. I'm going to do a bit of research with the Australian unis and see what they can do to accommodate. I think with the masters, it's one of those ones where you have to commit a little bit. Like, I think I can do it part-time, so it would be nice to start that. But I think even 3 subjects would be a bit too much at the moment. So I think
you've got so far, you don't want to go backwards, do you now? You want to make sure
I'm still in that delicate stage where if I do too much, that I could go backwards. So I don't really want to do that.
You're doing quite a lot as it is. So we'll...
it like balances out. So like the making of the masks use different energy to the blog writing, say, or even my job as a behavioral therapist, like it uses different parts. So it's nice to strengthen all those bits, but also keep it in the right balance. So I think
it's amazing to get yourself from a burnout to kind of a position where you're now working part-time, volunteering, have your own business, have a degree.
I have that silly, I say silly, I shouldn't say silly because it has helped me, but that perfectionist type personality who's determined, and it's good in a lot of ways, but if I don't keep it in check, it can cause burnout.
Right, okay.
So, finding that reminder, I think, is really helpful for me.
Always kind of pushing you to be perfect, and your kind of chronic illness is always trying to put the brakes on a little bit. Calm down now. Let's just make it easier on ourselves.
I always say, actually the physio who I go to, they say it's not about what you do, but how you do it, which I was like, that's a brilliant way to put it, because it's not about how much you do or how much you do in the day, but how you go about it, I guess, and balancing that rest and activity is really what is key for me, at least, on my illness.
That's a good thing to keep in your brain, I think, I think all spoonies are, or no, not the perfectionist thing, but because all spoonies have that they think that they can do more than their body can.
Yes, or they catch up when they have a good day, right?
So you're always kind of, oh, well, if I could, surely I could just go and, I can take the dog and then go shopping and then come back and clean the house, and then surely I should be able to. You're always kind of punching yourself. It's the same way as perfectionists do, but it's just because you're not able to do the same things. I'm always kind of like, well, I've washed up, I had a shower, I took the dog for a walk, and I made lunch, and now I'm going to bed. And now, like, to try and not feel bad for going and lie down and watching TV for a bit.
I do exactly the same. Yes, I think we need those reminders to ourselves that we are being productive, and resting is also productive.
Absolutely.
And may not be looked at as productive in society. It's productive for us because it means that we're not going to crash tomorrow, or we're not going to be sick for a week because we've pushed it.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult thing to come to terms with being a spoonie, because for that reason that we're told that what we should do is have a full-time job, or we should be in full-time education, or we should do what normal people do or muggles do. You should go to work, you should come home, you should cook tea, and then you should do what the rest of the world do, which is sit and watch telly. So you're only allowed to sit down and watch telly with to work. But if you if you don't work, then you feel like you should be punished anyway because you're not working, because the rest of the world is. And also you get people that don't understand, like, oh God, I'd love to be at home all the time.
Don't even start me on that. Or comparing my fatigue to their late night staying up watching Netflix. It's like, no, that was a choice. My chronic fatigue is not a choice.
No, you could have just gone to bed.
Exactly.
Thankfully, I've not had any, because I'm not at home, so I'm not kind of around people. But I've not had anybody say, oh God, you're not working, I'd love to be staying at home. But everyone I've spoken to has, or you don't look ill, or you don't look sick.
Yeah, that's a big one. Even in my wheelchair last year, I still didn't look ill. And it was interesting going out in the wheelchair. It was a completely different experience. And it was quite interesting, actually. I looked at it more from a people understanding perspective, like a psychology point, because I was like almost tempted to film people as I was in my wheelchair and my boyfriend pushing me around, because people would either look at my legs because they're wondering, like, oh, because she looks well, she might just, her legs might not work, or that kind of thing. Or people would either, if I were to jump out of the wheelchair and go to the bathroom, say, you'd get these like stares, like, oh, she's walking, like, what? Yeah, exactly. So it was quite interesting. I actually, while it was a bit upsetting to see the people's reactions, it was quite interesting from my perspective. Like, I didn't really
imagine so. Yeah. Anyway, but as you've been studying psychology, that must have been a very interesting especially to get out of a wheelchair. You think that people now understand that not everybody's in a wheelchair can't walk at all, but but there are, muggles are learning all the time.
I never forget. Sorry, pardon me. I just never forget, there was this one shop person that was like, oh, you fooled me, I thought you couldn't walk. I was like, oh no, like, wheelchairs aren't just for people who can't walk. Like, I have a chronic illness. It helps me
educate everybody wherever you go. Unfortunately, that's the job of someone that's chronically ill, isn't it? Well, only actually if you've got something physically that they can see. Otherwise it's much harder to educate people, because you have to prove it somehow.
Yes. And how do you?
So we've been talking with a couple of people on Instagram recently about on the IGTV lives that we've been doing, about friendships. Chronically ill people find it difficult to explain because you don't have something, or generally anybody with an invisible illness find it difficult to explain to loved ones and friends, and can quite often lose people because of that. Because people think that you're kind of flaky. Yeah, I hate saying it because it's just kind of like they think you're faking or that you're being dramatic, or and that's why people tend to then go to kind of like online world where other chronically ill people will understand them. And the stories I've heard of people, because it happens if you can't go out, if you used to go clubbing every Saturday night and then you can't go clubbing every Saturday night, then the invites will drop off if they don't believe you. Do you have any experiences of family or friends that you find it difficult to explain your condition to?
Yes, I've had a lot of different experiences over the years. So I guess the first one was my dad didn't understand at all. He still doesn't. I don't see him for that particular reason. My parents are divorced. But yeah, my dad never understood it. Like, he even saw me in the wheelchair or not being able to walk around the house, and he was still like, oh, you're faking it. It's not true. I was like, okay, well, I don't need
you. Why would I go to all this extent to fake it? You just think
I really don't want to go to school, right? But yeah, so that was a big one. But friends has been a huge one as well. Like, I've lost a lot of people over the years, and even I guess it's also tricky in romantic relationships as well. Like, that's tricky to understand. So my boyfriend at the moment, when I had first met him, I was doing the roller skating waitressing thing. So I was doing a lot. I was practically well. And then I relapsed last year. So that was quite a different experience for him. And it was like, he's still with me, which I'm completely grateful for. And he's amazing. But it was, an adjustment. And I never looked at it the other way, because I'm so in my experience and how hard an illness is having it, but I never looked at it the other side to see someone who you love is ill. So that's also hard.
Yeah, it's true. I've never really thought about it from somebody else's perspective either.
Yeah, so I think it can put a lot of pressure on relationships, just because, for no fault of my own, I am quite sensitive to a lot of things. So sensitive to smells and sounds. So even my sisters in the house who play music, sometimes I'd have to tell them to turn it down, and I would say it not so politely because, my fatigue has taken over. So I think, the relationships goes both ways. And if you have people who are understanding of your illness and can accept it, I think that is really what is important. And I think if people can't accept it, then they really weren't worth it in the first place, I think. And probably not worth your energy anyway.
It's very, thankfully I don't have anybody, because I've never really told anybody about my conditions. So I've always just kind of been very quiet about it. And then it's only recently, since I've been telling the whole of Instagram and anybody in the world that wants to read it, that I've then kind of been telling people. But I've not had anybody that said to me, you're faking. But I did a poll, and like 85% of people that said somebody close to them had said directly, you are faking.
Including doctors as well, which is probably the most discouraging, the doctor's side. I think friends, I've taken the perspective of, okay, if you don't understand, then you're probably not worth my energy anyway. So I've taken view on it. I think I don't really have enough energy to stress over it or to feel upset over it, because I have better things to do, really. So, but I guess with the doctor side of things, that's completely discouraging, because you're going in to get help, and when you're met with that stigma and that disbelief, it can cause a lot of issues and trauma as well. Like, I used to,
it can cause PTSD because it's medical gaslighting. So the amount of people that have been told, no, there's nothing wrong with you, no, there's nothing wrong with you, and I know there is something wrong with me, you need to listen to me, and continually tells you that there isn't, then that's PTSD in itself, which is very dangerous.
But then there's like that part of your brain that goes, oh, maybe they are right, which is terrible, because, they're not.
You go away and go, well, doctors know what they're saying. If they say there's nothing wrong with me, there isn't anything wrong with me. And that's when your brain starts to kind of crack, because it can't cope with the fact that there is something wrong with you, and that's what it causes PTSD. And PTSD is a lifelong condition.
Yes, so damaging. It's terrible.
I don't think I ever I was ever told. Mine was a brain tumour, so mine was quite straight line down the. You have a brain tumour. If we don't scoop it out of your head, you're going to die. That sort of thing. So, but I was a kid when it happened, so I don't remember very much about it. But it caused chronic illnesses because it scooped part of the brains out. The brains.
Of course.
The brain out and left me partially sighted because the tumour affected damaged my optic nerve.
Yep.
Yeah. So they scooped out the pituitary gland, which causes kind of lots of different problems. So mine was straightforward. They went and said, "Oh, you're blind. You're a child. Why are you blind?" But if you're going and saying, "Look, I'm exhausted all the time," or "I'm in agony and I don't understand," and then someone says, "No, you're not."
It's those kind of like non-physical symptoms that people can't really tell unless you're experiencing it.
Yeah, you can't see, but why for a second? Well, the first conversation, the first live we did was called "We Believe You," because all the conversations I'd had before were people saying that they hadn't been believed about whether it was about their chronic illness, whether it was about mental health, or whether it was about trauma. And what sort of person tells you something and your response is, "Well, that didn't happen," or "You don't feel like that." It's your automatic response to go, "God, that's terrible. I'm sorry you're feeling like that," or "I'm sorry." So,
just part of being a decent human, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's not hard.
It's really strange that people have to be taught to ask, "Are you okay?" or "Do you need some help?" It's strange. It should just come naturally, right?
Absolutely. I think the problem is in the medical side is that they work so hard and they're so limited in the resources, they're so limited in their time, and they're generally so tired that they become desensitized to people. Not all of them, but some are amazing, and some are just that they're not even thinking about you. They're not even listening to you because they're thinking about what they've got to do next or what they did last.
Yes.
And they started in the UK now that you can only talk about one thing at a time. If you book a doctor's appointment, if you go in and start going, "I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this," they go, "Well, you've got 10 minutes and you've got one thing to talk about." I'm like,
that's terrible.
Yeah, can I book up 20 appointments then? Because this is going to take a bloody while.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a very strange system. So you can understand that people are dealing with multiple symptoms, like you said with ME or with fibromyalgia. That's going to take a long time to have a conversation with the doctor, because you go about pain, or you go about feeling tired, as you call it, if you didn't know it was chronic fatigue.
It's like, where do you even start?
Yeah, "I just feel awful" is what most people start with. "Help me, I don't know why I feel like this," but I'm glad I'm glad you're feeling better and you're building up your strength again, and that's exactly the position I'm in, building up from recovery as well. So I'm glad that you're able to work and volunteer and build up your business again. So tell us the name of your Instagram and where we can find you on the worldwide internet again, on your blog.
So the business side of things is the Freshly Fatigued account, and then I've recently opened up another account just to share more about my chronic illness journey, because I felt I wasn't honouring it too much on the Freshly Fatigued anymore. It had started off with like a diary, the Freshly Fatigued, but as it moved to the business, I wanted to separate the two more, because my illness has taught me a lot and is a huge part of me, but there's a lot of other parts of me as well. So I've separated the two. So Freshly Fatigued Zoe is the chronic illness account, and then Freshly Fatigued is more the business side. So yeah.
And your blog? And
the blog, so that is just freshlyfatigued.com. And shop is shop.freshlyfatigued.com. So
cool. Well, I will tag you and everything, and we'll share everything so people get to see it all. Is there anything else, or are we?
This has been amazing. So thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. It's been fun.
It's been a lot of fun.
Good. I'm gonna go get some breakfast now because it's still early.
Yeah, I better head to bed soon. What time is it? 8 o'clock. Yes. an hour left.
Complete opposite sides of the world, but it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you very much for taking your time to have a chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. So thanks.
Okay. All right, I'll see you soon, Dave.
Bye.